Good, good. Nice to see everyone. Thank
Hola.
you. I'm Todd Byerther, President of the Plan Commission. So this is Spokane Plan Commission for Thursday, January 21st. Thanks everyone for being flexible on this makeup. Today we have some commission business primarily for that's mandated on odd years for election of president and vice president positions, and then appoint members for a couple committees. Um, Maybe coming into it, if everyone's here, let's take roll call, please, to establish a quorum. Jackie, are you on?
I am. I'm here.
Greetings. Thank you.
All right. Michael Baker.
Here.
Todd Byrather.
Here.
Greg Francis.
Here.
Diana Painter. Okay, I don't see Diana here.
Mm-mm.
Thank you. Sylvia. Sylvia St. Clair.
Here.
Thank you. Tom Sanderson.
Here.
Carol Shook. I don't see Carol here either. Clifford Winger.
Here.
Joanne Wright.
Here.
Mary Winkus.
Here.
Councilmember Kinnear. All right, looks like she's not here either.
Well, I see Jacoby. I'm sorry I didn't say hi in the previous meeting, but are you here?
Yes, reporting in for Councilmember Kinnear, who had a SPA conflict.
Okay, thank you. Greetings, by the way. Okay. Did we make it?
Oh, yes, we have a quorum.
Thank you, Jackie. I don't normally ask this, but anyone else from the public like to be recognized? If not, jump in later, please. Okay, we can start with the public comment period. If anyone joining from the public would like to address the commission on a topic that's not on our current agenda today, please feel free at this time to ask to be recognized. Okay, hearing none, just interrupt if we missed you. Into the briefing, moving in the briefing session, our first item is to approve the 12/9/2020 meeting minutes. Can we hear a motion, please, to approve?
Move to approve.
Second.
Thank you. I heard Greg and then maybe Sylvia.
Yes, I second it.
Thank you. Any discussion or proposed edits? Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay, so approved. Thank you. Okay, Councilmember Kinnear, by the way, welcome back. She's not, but if she's not here, are there any reports you'd like to give, Jacoby?
Yeah, thanks, Todd. I just have one thing to plug report other than council settling into the new year and new committees and commission appointments. So Lori's thrilled to be back with you all. Other than that, we are working on updating the Water Conservation Master Plan this spring. I'm part of the citizen stakeholder group convened by Council President to take a look at our current master plan, build off of it, propose some updates to Council. And so Lori's particularly interested in what we can do to help community members reduce water waste, how we can lead by example at the city, et cetera. So that stakeholder group has been meeting since July of 2020, and we're at the point where we're starting to look for some community feedback on some initial potential water use interventions. And we have our first workshop, community workshop tonight at 6 o'clock tonight, and we'll have two more over the next following 2 weeks, 6 o'clock on Thursday for the next 2 weeks. And so I'll drop the registration link in the chat, or we don't have it, I'll send it out to Todd and we can maybe include it in the minutes for next time. But just wanted to give you guys a heads up that that's coming down the pike for council. Probably won't be adopted by council until the end of April. So we're starting that kind of 2 to 3 month process of community engagement at this point.
Oh, thank you. And then maybe please send it to Lewis and Jackie instead. Thank you. Now that we wouldn't anticipate any commission review on that, would we?
No formal commission review, but if anybody would like to be involved, you can email me, gbird, BYRD, @spokencity.org.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay. Thank you for that. Mary, would you please give the community assembly liaison report? I think you're muted, Mary. Mary? I think you're muted.
Get my fingers to do the right thing. Yes, it's been a long time since we've met and a while since the community assembly met. So I reported on the December 9th meeting at the community assembly, and I had nothing that came from that. So, I will say that I am going to go to that water conservation workshop that's tonight at 6. So I'm going to be sitting in front of my computer for a good bit of time today. But I would urge others to go to it as well. So I think it's going to help to steer the direction for the city. So anyhow, that's all I've got.
Okay, thank you. I'll keep president report short and maybe let Lewis during the secretary report give more detail. Lewis, I'll let you talk about Commissioner Baker. We're still looking for one new member with the loss of John Dietzman off the commission. So please look for those applications. I see a couple of people join that might show some interest here. So I hope welcome. Other than that, I think I'll save just we have a discussion period at the end of today's workshop. So a lot of things I'd like to talk about, we can just talk about as a commission. I'll bring them up then, related to legislature session and so forth. With that, I think Cliff, you're new in the role here. Welcome. You haven't had a meeting yet, though, right? Is there anything you'd like to give on the transportation subcommittee report?
No, I'm still waiting for information from John Dietzman, and hopefully we'll have an agenda by the 1st of February. Okay, thank you. And just a reminder, everyone, Cliff is taking over as chair. How did we end up sorting? Mary, you're on the subcommittee, and then Tom, you decided not to. I can't remember because you also have you had a dual role with.
I might be, I don't want to be confused. I believe I am the Citizens Transportation Advisory Board representative on the Transportation Subcommittee.
Everyone got
Is that right, Lewis?
That's how I understood it too, but that's layer upon layer, isn't it?
I got it tattooed on me somewhere.
I guess the point of bringing that up is, if you remember, I believe per the subcommittee rules, which is a subcommittee under this commission, I think we technically could have up to 3 or 4 representatives from the commission on the subcommittee. So if anyone else is interested, while formally, Tom, you're not representing the commission, I don't think we need to stack it. That's not the point. But I mean, if there would be room for 1 or 2 other people if interested in joining the transportation subcommittee. Is that correct, Liz?
Correct. I think it's 3. I'm checking right now.
I always thought it was 3. John always advertised 4, but I don't know. Mary, do you have a comment?
No, I just think it's 3.
Okay. It'd be by their
Well,
rules, right?
we're all wrong. It's actually at least 1, but no more than 4.
I was going to say, I don't think anybody should question John's knowledge of it. But anyway, whatever feels right to the commission. If 3 seems like a good number, but
Never again will I do that.
let's also let the subcommittee give some input what they would like. So, okay, secretary report, please, Liz.
Okay. Yeah, we checked this week on Mr. Baker's reappointment process. We haven't heard back yet, so we'll be pinging them on a weekly basis. And we'll also be pinging them again to see if they have enough applicants to make a decision on filling the vacant role of Mr. Dietzman's. So I believe we've had 1 or 2 applications. We need to review those, but if anybody can help push the word out that there is a vacancy, we could use the assistance, especially during this tougher time on getting the word out about that vacant position. So through the grapevine is a good way to pull people in.
And Louis, just as a reminder, it's an appointment, right, from the mayor, confirmed by the council, and then typically as a the commission gets an opportunity to review and give feedback, whether a recommendation, right? But I don't think formally that needs to be a step, right? The mayor could just push forward with, and the council could also, right?
Yeah, it's been past practice that the mayor would forward us the applications that they would like you to give some advice on back to the mayor before she makes her recommended appointments to council. And that's been a good process in the past, and I'd recommend continuing to do that.
Yeah. Tom?
Yes, thank you. Just a quick question, Louis. Is that a full term?
Yes, it would be this, minus this month, but it's a full term.
So a full 4 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, because John termed out. Side note on that. So, Michael, glad you're still with us. Technically, you're on a 90-day. By our rules, you can keep a tenant for 90 days. Hopefully, that gets approved, and then if we needed to pull John back, we could do that if we needed quorum or input over the next until we fill that position. But
yeah, we're still communicating with Mr. Dietzman until that position is filled. And he keeps stating that he's able to fill in if available, if needed for a quorum.
Okay, thank you. Anything else?
We did send out an email, and maybe Terrell can speak to this. National League of Cities, I believe it was an email that was sent out to you last week. If anybody would like to volunteer to just kind of sit in on, the city was awarded, I think, a grant through the council office. And Terrell, do you want to add a little bit more?
Yeah. I'm looking up to make sure I get the right name of the grant. It was from the National League of Cities. It's City and Health Systems, Community of Practice. So there are some peer cities that we will be meeting with. I don't yet have the details and can send those out to you or Melissa Morrison in the council office about when the meetings will occur and how frequently. I think it will be going over several months. If anyone's interested in that, I know they're open to more participation.
Yeah, I don't believe that needs to be a formal subcommittee. It would just be a participate on this group, because we're not sure if any policy would be coming forward to Plan Commission. So just another opportunity.
And Jackie can re-email out to you all that information from the council so you can see and look at it yourself.
When do you want a response by?
I was not able to find out when they're beginning. We just had our first internal touch point yesterday. So I think in the next couple weeks. So I will make sure and resend that out to everybody through Jackie.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you then. Anything else?
Actually, Melissa Morrison just put something in the chat, so maybe she could address when they're meeting.
Yeah, so the first stakeholder, the big group meeting will be the 27th. I don't know when the ongoing meetings will be yet. I haven't heard back from the National League of Cities when those are going to be scheduled, but it's probably a couple hour a month commitment with the meetings externally with the larger stakeholder group, and then internally if we meet as a city group. The idea is how does the city improve and strengthen partnerships between the city government and public health systems or health communities? And one of the big things that have been looked at before and probably in the future is going to be affordable housing and housing opportunities for people.
Thank you, Melissa.
So if I can ask a question, Melissa, so is it primarily focused generally around health, or is it with housing as being a subcomponent of it, or the way around?
So it's generally around health, but looking at the social determinants of health. So what impacts and influences health. So looking at housing affordability, but also healthy homes, safe homes for people to live in. But it won't just be housing and health. That's just one of the components that have been discussed in the past by other cities. So I'm thinking that it definitely, in all the conversations that we're having at the council level and at the city right now around housing, I'm sure that it will be a focus of our city's group to discuss.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, is anything else?
I think that's it for now.
All right, thank you. Okay, so moving into our commission business, I just lost my agenda. So we, per our rules, have to elect president and vice president every 2 years. And I'm going to pull them up here in front of us. It's very short. Rule 8.1. The first regular meeting in January of each odd number year, the commission shall elect a president and vice president. Second is the president and vice president shall hold their respective offices for a 2-year term and until their successors are elected and qualified. And then as I noted in December, I was wrong at first, but we corrected it. Nominations shall be made in writing to the secretary and circulated to all commission members prior to election meeting. The candidate receiving a majority vote of a quorum of the commission shall be declared elected. I'll let Louis announce what he's received in writing, but I want to put it out there. We talked just before the meeting. If we as a commission want to suspend the rules and someone wants to make a nomination, I'll propose that. Somebody would have to first move to suspend and then make a motion to allow that. But anyone have any thoughts on that, if that's necessary or not? Or maybe we should let Louis first report what he's received.
I've only had 2 commissioners get back to me. We've had one appointment for Mr. Bayweather to continue on as president and one for Greg Francis to continue on as vice president. And Greg is willing to be president if Mr. Bayweather is not able to or desire to continue in that capacity. That is all.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I think we make our rules. So if was anyone interested in modifying that or discussing that more, self-nominating, please, we can set this process. Okay. Is anyone being shy here?
I think the crickets have spoken.
All right. Well, okay, thank you. So then,
are you two both willing to take the positions?
So I am always honored and enjoy this position. Would be honored to do that. I'd also, support and appreciate if anyone else wanted to go for the position. So.
Can I just ask a few questions?
Of course.
Keeping in mind, I'm still relatively new, so I don't know much about the history. Todd, how many times was that your first term as president?
Well, it's good. It's a good and fair question, important question. Yes. I've been on the commission for 5 years now, and for the first 3, I guess, was under Denny Delwo. And then when I believe the way it worked was he only had a year left of his term because I think it was offset. And so then we had elections and I was serving at the time as vice chair.
if I could ask another question of Greg.
Sure.
Is this your first term as vice chair? And will you have another opportunity? And would you like to still have an opportunity to hold the seat of chair?
This would be my second term as vice president, and my first term ends in this year, and I intend to extend or hopefully extend for an additional term after that. And so I would have plenty of opportunity to serve as either vice president or president in the future.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Sure.
Okay. Anyone else like to weigh in? Well, thank you then. Let's, I guess we need a motion though. Let's, if someone wants to make, or how, actually, I don't know. Louis, what would be the proper procedure?
I think we need a motion.
Okay. Michael, do you want to make that?
Yeah, I'd like to move that we nominate Todd Byrather and Greg Francis as president and vice president for the next term for 2021 and 2022.
I second it.
Okay. Thank you both, Michael and Sylvia. Any discussion? Further discussion? Okay. If not, can we please take roll?
All right, Michael Baker,
Aye.
Todd Byrather,
Aye.
Greg Francis,
Aye.
Sylvia St. Clair,
Aye.
Thomas Anderson,
Aye.
Carol Shook,
Aye.
Clifford Winger,
Aye.
Joanne Wright.
I think you're both doing a great job, so aye.
Great. Motion carries.
Well, thank you very much, everyone.
Yes, thank you.
And by the way, I didn't want to joke during Greg's comments, but Greg's been on the commission he's working the system. He was on its community liaison for how long before?
2.5 years.
It seemed longer than that. Okay. So good. Honored. Thank you. Okay. Second item would be, Kevin, did you want to introduce this? Is that what?
I can, unless Lewis wants to.
Or Lewis, yeah.
No, go ahead.
I wasn't planning to speak. Sorry. So this is once again, we are building a docketing subcommittee for the comprehensive plan amendments to be considered this year. The docketing subcommittee looks at all of the applications against the threshold criteria. Things like, is this appropriate as a comp plan? Do we have the bandwidth to handle this many applications? Those kind of questions. And then makes a recommendation to City Council as to whether or not each application should be considered for the year. And typically the subcommittee is made up of 3 City Council members and 3 Plan Commission members. And so today I'm seeking 3 volunteers or 3 appointees from this body to serve on that committee. And currently the first meeting of that committee, and it usually only takes 1, but who knows, is February 17th at 11:30. So thank you.
Yeah,
I'd like to volunteer for it.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. I was going to add a little more. This is a really important subcommittee of the council. And for some of us that have been here a little while, and please correct me if anyone from staff that this came out of, some very contentious comp plan amendments a few years ago, and the desire from council to take a screening look at some of these before really bogging down the staff and the commission and so forth on some pretty heavy lifts so anyway, so the makeup is 3 and 3, right?
That's correct.
And Greg, do you have any comments? You served on this last year. Anyone else? I don't remember who was on it.
Sylvia's done it.
Michael, you did also?
Painter did it last year.
Oh, okay.
Or was it you, Carol?
No. I did it one.
I did it 3 years ago, the first year we had it.
That's right. Sylvia, Michael, do you have anything you'd like to say about it?
Nope.
Right. It's actually it's a good process because you go through and you review all the private applications, and you kind of have this review process and a discussion with the 3 council members, and kind of put together a draft docket, which then ultimately council can modify in their final process. But it's a good review process and a good starting point to kicking off the amendment process.
Is it just the external applications? Sorry, Mary.
Oh, I was going to say, I sat in on it last year, but I was not on it. And if it's something the liaison can do, I'm never sure on that. I wouldn't mind serving on it this year.
Real quick to answer your question, Todd, the subcommittee, the docketing subcommittee makes a recommendation on the private applications, not the city sponsored. We tend to let you guys know what they are, but the decision for city sponsored lies only with council. So it's just the private applications. Okay. And as for Mary's request, I don't know. That's up to your rules as to who could serve. I believe. I can look it up.
Does anyone know or would be opposed, James or Lewis? I don't see anything. It can't be a liaison, just like it's very similar to the subcommittee on the transportation subcommittee, right?
If it's all right, I'd like to look up the municipal code standard for the design for the threshold process itself, just to make sure that it doesn't say plan commissioner. Give me 1 second.
I don't want it all thrown out because I sat on it and shouldn't have.
Okay, anyone else want to self-nominate or nominate someone else?
I would be happy to do it again, but I will, since I've done it numerous times, I will absolutely defer if other people want to step in and do it.
Okay. Standing at 2 if Mary.
So the code simply says 3 city council members and 3 plan commission members.
Jim Richmond here. My take on that is that we would need to have 3 plan commission members.
Okay. Okay, thank you. All right, well, so we're at Greg and Michael. I'll happily volunteer if no one else wants to. I don't know that we need to appoint anyone.
Oh, Tom's raising his hand.
Tom, you're interested?
Actually, I was waiting for someone else with more experience to step up, but I got no problem. I think I'd have a really good time doing that. So yeah.
Okay. Okay, good.
Thank you.
Thank you then. So then, if no one else is interested, can someone please make a motion then for Michael and Tom?
I will move that Michael Baker, Greg Francis, and Tom Sanderson represent Plan Commission on the docketing subcommittee.
I second it.
Okay, thank you, Greg and Sylvia. Can we just do a voice vote on this? Anyone opposed to that? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Abstention. Okay. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, Kevin. Okay. The second one would be, are we doing the North Bank or the downtown plan? We're doing the downtown plan, right?
Yeah, sorry, the North Bank mention under item 2 is a typo, so it shouldn't be in there. We were moving to item number 3 now, which is a subcommittee to deep dive into the downtown plan.
Lewis or someone else want to introduce this or talk more about that? What the requirements are?
Yeah, we have Nate on the call. Nate, would you like to give a little bit of overview on, at this point, the process that's being thought about there with briefing paper included?
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon, President Bayreuther and commission members. There is a briefing paper in your packet kind of outlining this request for a new subcommittee to look at the downtown plan update. And this is something that's considering just acknowledging that we're in a challenging climate with the ability to the bandwidth to dive in and look at items and have discussion. So in order to facilitate that, today we're requesting a subcommittee of Plan Commission members to join Vice President Francis, who sits on the Downtown Plan Update Steering Committee, along with some other city representatives from the Design Review Board and City Council member Kinnear. This committee, the commitment here would be to devote 1 hour, probably 1 hour meetings, up to 3 we would expect, and it'll be over the course of the next couple of months. And then, of course, that would be held over a virtual format, and we would try to accommodate people's schedules, but that would help facilitate understanding, information sharing, and participation into the adoption process, which is anticipated later on in the spring. So again, the request is for up to 3 additional members to join Vice President Francis.
Well, yeah, thank you, Nathan. So my understanding of this is a request that the commission that forms a subcommittee, which we have the ability to do, an ad hoc subcommittee, right? And then populate it with three, well, technically 4 people, right? 3 plus
correct.
Greg, who already serves on a different downtown, on the downtown plan committee, right?
Correct.
And by the way, just as a side, the downtown plan, where does that committee exist? Is that a city council committee, or is that thrown externally to the downtown partnership?
Yeah, there's a steering committee that was formed between the city and Downtown Spokane Partnership to provide broad representation. The meeting notes are posted on the project webpage, and there's just been some discussion about, sort of the issues of interest that we needed additional feedback on. It's an opportunity for staff from both organizations, the Downtown Spokane Partnership and the city, to get feedback from a broad range of stakeholders, business owners, residents, and representatives, and of course it's from the respective organizations that are co-sponsoring this. So that process is kind of that series of meetings seems to be completed now, and we're sort of moving into a more focused phase with the more public, more of a public, and so still wanting to use those committee members to help transfer information to and from their respective constituencies, stakeholder groups, and so forth. But now we're looking for turning now to the representatives from the Plan Commission to do further discussion.
So these would be public meetings, obviously, but we're not anticipating there'll be formal hearings with
Correct.
It, except for comment periods. Okay. Thank you.
I would like to serve on it. I have an office in downtown Spokane at Brown and Riverside, so I would very much like to be interested in it.
Thank you, Michael. This is what I'm interested in too. So, but who else would like to participate?
I think I'd like to learn more about it, about the downtown area, and be a part of that. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Anyone else? Tom?
I'd like to participate, but maybe not as a direct member. Maybe just sit in a few times.
Okay.
Yeah, this project will be coming before the Plan Commission for thorough review and adoption process. This is kind of a pre-warm up to that, of additional workshops and a deep dive on the plan. So all Plan Commission members will have a chance to get their hands very much involved on the project. This is just a bit more deeper dive into that early on.
Well, then, yes, I would like to be a part of that, if that's okay.
Okay.
Yes, James here. Is the idea for these meetings to be noticed and open to the public?
I think the idea was for these to be a bit more informal and I'm not sure the logistics are totally fleshed out, but there could be a period. They could be noticed. They could be there could be a period for comment during the meetings, but it could all be a less formal process.
I think we were hoping to keep it under a quorum, so we wouldn't have to go to that step. But if we need to, we could take it to that step.
Yeah, before we have our first meeting, let's sort of huddle up and make sure we don't have an issue there and that we don't need to notice it.
What, excuse me, this is Mary, isn't it, don't you have to follow open public meeting act?
If we don't have a quorum of the Plan Commission or of any other official committee or forum, we may not need to advertise the meeting. That's what we're going to take a look at to make sure we don't have a makeup. The makeup of this committee isn't such that it would trigger that notice and open meetings requirements.
Yeah, we generally do provide public notice to all the subcommittee meetings and the steering committee meeting, but it's just not necessarily the same level of a formal, this is a Plan Commission subcommittee public notice. There's a little different level there. So if we had a quorum, though, we would have to go through the full notice procedure.
Yeah, once we know the makeup of this committee, let's talk about it.
Will do.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, anyone else? So I hear I'm interested. Tom, Michael, Greg, you're already on there, right? As a kind of a liaison to the main committee. Anyone else? Okay. Someone want to make a motion, please?
There was Carol.
Oh, I'm sorry, Carol. Yes, that's. What did I say? Michael, Tom, Todd, Carol. Oh, I see. So that'd be 4.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
I believe we're fine at 4 with not automatically tripping our formal notice going out all the time, but we'll discuss that with James.
Except it will be 5 with me there.
It'd be 5, yeah.
Oh, are you going to be on there too, Todd?
I can drop out if there's going to be a problem. Did anyone hear my comment?
We did, although would there be concern from anyone if we had 5? Except for the public meeting?
No concern for me other than that if we have a quorum of the Plan Commission meeting, we definitely need to treat it as an open public meeting and provide appropriate notice and opportunity for the public to attend.
Nathan, do you have any hesitation?
It's a few additional steps, and I guess I'd like to talk to our staff about that, but nothing that looks like it would be impossible. It would just be a few extra steps.
Okay, well, let's just move forward with.
Yeah, move forward with the motion. We'll talk about it with legal to see if it would prohibit, other email communication, that sort of thing being a problem, and then we'll come back and talk to you next week about it.
Yeah, and if one of us just has to not show up for a meeting, that's okay. So
I'd move that we form a subcommittee to work on the downtown plan update with Michael Baker, Todd Bayreuther, Carol Shook, Tom Sanderson, and Greg Francis.
Second.
Okay, moved and second. Any discussion? Let's just do a voice vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Abstention. Okay, thank you. I'll follow up. Do I need to do anything to formalize that, or?
I believe your action.
As
long as you're okay with it, it's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that. Thank you. Okay, I think now is that it for committee or commission business?
Wasn't there going to be something regarding Spokane housing plan, the action plan?
I think that's next week. That's on next week's agenda. Was that originally on there and got moved? Anyways, I see it on the agenda next, or on the plan, the agenda management for next week.
That is correct for next
Okay.
week.
Okay. Okay, thank you. So with that, then we move into our workshops. A little early, but Melissa, are you willing and ready for Shoreline Master Program?
I am ready and I am willing. Department of Ecology, Jeremy Sykes is on the line yet. I can't see caller names, but I can see there's callers. He may have been expecting us to start at 2:55. So, but I can start into it and we can take it from there if you are ready, unless you want to switch up the agenda.
Yeah, completely up to you if you'd prefer, because you have external people. We can start talking about our second item and then come back at 2:55, but however you like to do it.
Lewis, secretary, or any other feedback on that? I don't hear Jeremy.
I don't know how much of the presentation and discussion is Jeremy, or can you start off?
I'd
like.
Sure.
I think maybe we should wait for Jeremy.
Okay.
Okay, and yeah,
If we could
the first
reorder.
half.
Yes.
Okay. Can someone, maybe it's not necessary, can someone make a motion to suspend the agenda? The rules, I mean, please?
Move to suspend
Okay.
the agenda.
Second, even? Looking for a second. Thank you, Tom.
I second it.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, nay? Okay, suspended. So we're switching workshop items 2 and 1. We'll come back at 2:55. Okay, now. Okay. On the work program discussion, Lucy, is there anything you want to lead off on that? I asked for some time too, and it's meant to be a pretty open discussion, preparing for January 28th. This will be one of the agenda items on our joint Plan Commission City Council meeting.
Correct.
Anything else you'd like to say, Lewis, about that?
I could give you a quick overview of what's in the packet. These are items that we had at the end of last year. I think you've seen all of these as far as what was brought forward for the last Plan Commission discussion. I think that was in November. And you ranked them at that point in time as far as priority. And basically the second page of that is the same list of items. I kind of added a category called the missing middle of those on page 2, and I can share my screen. Let's do that here.
And as you bring it up, just a reminder, this got pushed way to the end of the year, right? It's supposed to be dealt with at the beginning of the year by the council. And so when did the council actually take action on that? November, October, and then Councilmember Mumm requested to now get back on track and revisit this in January to set the 2021 rather than doing 2 at a time.
Correct. Yeah. Normally it is discussed by Plan Commission in January, and normally council acts on it in February. It's a high level items listing of kind of what's underway, and then a recognition of kind of prioritization of if there is extra capacity over the year, things that can be pulled into the work program. These are just the work program items that come before the Plan Commission that our department works on. The department works on a lot of other items also that aren't policy and that don't come before the Plan Commission, but these all have some kind of policy component where Plan Commission needs to make a recommendation to council. Like I said, all of these I think you've seen. We do have a little bit of ability if there is something new that pops up. Some of these are not underway yet, such as Housing Action Plan implementation or the Downtown Plan North Bank implementation is needed. Those are not, like I said, underway at this point in time. So we could reshuffle those as far as priorities. All these other projects are projects that have work being done on them, some kind of public process around that, and we'll be bringing forward items to you here soon. So this is what if you look on page 2 of this, these are all listed, not of any kind of priority. These are just things that the Plan Commission has talked about in the past, bringing up. and we haven't been able to get to them yet, or they haven't been added by council. I've labeled this first category kind of that missing middle, but this may not be, these would all be items that would not require necessarily a comp plan amendment. So these are more, there might be some flexibility within the comp plan to allow for more housing types that we haven't implemented yet. There are other areas such as center and corridor planning that ever since 2001, we have quite a list of centers that have never had focused attention on them yet. I call it the city and others, we get distracted by the latest and greatest priorities. And we had intention after the comp plan was adopted in 2001 to go through all those centers and do this center planning. And we still have some 20 years later that we haven't got to. And we could probably go back and start relooking at some of the ones we addressed early on after the comp plan was adopted. We have several other items related to center and corridor planning that we as staff believe could be discussed about further implementation. I'm going through this very quickly, and I hope we have plenty of time after the shoreline item to come back to all of this. So I'm just kind of giving you a quick overview. We could continue sub-planning, sub-area planning in the city. There's been quite a bit of discussion around, do we start allowing other uses in certain industrial areas or rezone certain industrial areas to other uses? That's pretty common in cities that are looking to add more housing, is they want to start looking at their industrial land supply and maybe converting some of that to residential. Oftentimes cities will protect their resident or their industrial areas from those type of uses because they can then start pushing out industrial uses. Then we have comp plan level amendments needed for other housing discussions. And I think I didn't add actual policy numbers in here, but Todd, you've mentioned this before, such as LU 1.3 and 4. Do we, look at our single family zones in a broader context than what we had today? And then I've got a couple other things down here, such as short-term rental code update. Short-term rentals keep popping up in community discussion, and possible sign code modifications. I always get, whenever I see the word sign code, I always cringe because touching that thing is always a larger project than we could ever imagine. So that's very quick of what's in the packet. And it's really meant for you all to have a discussion after our next agenda item, have plenty of time. We kept the hearings, there's no hearings today, so we have a lot of time to deep dive in and have a thorough discussion before the joint meeting with council. We actually can add this as a continuation discussion item for next week's agenda too. That'll be before the joint meeting.
Yeah, I was just going to add that. So does this look familiar to everyone? Is it fresh in our memories from October? So nothing else has been added though, right? Since October, or a few tweaks maybe?
Yeah, just a few little tweaks. We've pulled everything off that's been completed. And so you've had a few items on here like, the U district plan, all of those you've made recommendations on. They've been adopted. There's been no follow-up work. All those have been removed, but it's pretty much what was included just a couple months ago.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this too. And I think the things that have evolved then is the housing action plans nearing completion, and the SAS committee obviously has a couple recommendations that we'll talk about after. Okay, that's good. Thank you. Maybe that's a good breaking point if we're still a little early, but Melissa, what do you think?
I think so. We did get an email from Jeremy, so I believe he's on the line. I'm not sure if he's on the WebEx or not, and on the phone. Jeremy? Yeah, there.
Hi, this is Jeremy. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, good. So yeah, perfect. Now let's move back to the first item, the shoreline.
Okay, hang on just a minute. I'll get the PowerPoint on there for the Shoreline Master Program.
Okay, and will you toss this control to me, or you want to just advance?
I can just advance. We'll start off with just a basic introduction here. This is Shoreline Master Program Periodic Review. Some of you are familiar with Shoreline Master Program work. And some of you, this will be new, very new too. So that's the purpose of the workshop today. Jeremy is with Department of Ecology. This is a very much of a cooperative process to do the periodic review, which is required every 8 years with the Department of Ecology. They're here today as experts on the ecology process. I'm going to be speaking to what we're doing in the city of Spokane. So we'll just go from there. Let's see. So Jeremy is the Shoreline Senior Planner for the Eastern Region Office of the Department of Ecology. He's going to run through what this is about. I would note that we are currently in a period of public comment, and it's a joint process. I believe Jeremy can speak to this. This is the first time we've done this on the eastern side of the state, where we're running the public comment period concurrently, and it is a 30-day period that will end on February 5th. And the SEPA that's been done on this, our proposal to ecology was finished up on January 19th. Sorry, some of my dates are getting a little bit mixed up due to our windstorm last week, but hopefully everybody is safe and sound and ready to dive into Shoreline Master Program. So Jeremy, I'm going to turn this over to you.
I'll go ahead and go through this relatively quickly and just be open to questions in the future if things come up, like Melissa's question about the concurrent comment period. I have been involved with Department of Ecology as a shoreline planner for about, before that I was a wetland specialist, but before that I was a consultant. I helped work with Melissa and to help write your current Shoreline Master Program that is being periodically reviewed right now. And so I've got a long tendrils associated with this. But let's kind of step back and talk about that's what ecology and the local jurisdictions are implementing here. That's what led to the Shoreline Master Program. And the legislature found, this was back in 1971 when this was passed, that is represented by uncoordinated and piecemeal development on state shorelines. And as a result, they developed a fairly complex and pretty far-reaching law, RCW 9058. The key policy areas of environmental protection, understanding that shorelines are a limited resource and they are particularly valuable and sensitive, public access to public waters, and water-dependent and preferred uses that require shoreline locations for their existence should be and planned for in the future. Go ahead, Melissa. So shoreline programs, one of the kind of unusual aspects of this law is it is established for government and Washington. Local governments required. Planning, I'm generally talking about the comprehensive last time around, and this is a process of keeping that up to date. But then they also administer the regulatory programs within that plan. Ecology's role in this partnership is supportive for policy and review capacity within government to ensure that the policies that are in the rules that implement the SMA are followed when a comprehensive plan and those reviews take place. We also provide funding. We provided funding for the comprehensive reviews, and we're providing a little bit of funding for these periodic reviews, and we manage that funding. So Spokane, you can see, is in this Class C. Spokane is a little bit outline. Early adopter, we chose early on through and so they got kind of this central and southwest Washington group. It was sort of rolled out over time with the intention that Eastern Washington was going to be last. So at any rate, that is why Spokane is a part of this group of Group C. We're due June 30th of 2021. We are well on that trajectory, and Spokane is our is well ahead. So Spokane, I should say, is well ahead of most of the other Spokane County jurisdictions. You're doing a very excellent job. So congratulations on that. Go ahead, Melissa. So what your periodic review is not to revisit any of the baseline information. It's not to revisit policy decisions. It is to review the current SMP against and the rule and the law, the RC and the codes, because those things. It's your last comprehensive update. Ensure that consistent with the comprehensive plan and development regulations. That isn't to mean that they need to be precisely the same. It's just that there should not be internal. Oh, I'm getting a little bit of feedback there. So sorry. There should not be internal conflicts within those tubes. That's part of the review that takes place. And then to a certain extent, where local circumstances and new information have come about, those can be incorporated into the master program if the local jurisdiction deems those of making changes to the master program. Go ahead. So in order to help with this, we knew that this was going to be heavy lift and we weren't going to have as much funding as we did for the comprehensive review ecology. One of lists that sort of.
This is just an example. Did we lose Jeremy?
I also lost Jeremy's sound.
Okay. Well, then maybe I'll step in for just a minute. Or wait a minute.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Okay, now I can hear you. Thanks. I was like, oh my gosh, I have to pick up for Jeremy.
I'm so sorry. Well, this is
No, it's okay. It's fine.
Brave new world we're living in. At any rate, so you can see that there are some rule changes and some WAC changes that have happened since then, and really the idea here is that jurisdictions compare their current programs to the things that have changed and make a determination about whether they need to change things. And then we hopefully came up with some boilerplate language that we think would meet the intent of the rule changes or the law changes, and those could be just sort of copied and pasted into the Shoreline Master Program to make them continue to be compliant. So this is the joint state local review process. Once the local jurisdictions, where this is basically pretty much where we are now, local jurisdictions go through the checklist, master programs, they make determinations about what can and should be changed. And then they take this document out for the local comment period. Under comprehensive plans, there's concurrent. They are not concurrent comment periods. They happen one after another. Local jurisdiction goes first. You get your comments and you deal with them, and then it comes to ecology, and we do another one. The same process happens again. We changed that under this rule when we wrote the rules that govern these periodic reviews, so that both of those reviews happen at the same time. So the comments will come to the city, they may come to the state will put those together and take them back to the city, and the city and state will work together on responses to those comments and any changes that ought to happen in the proposal. And so this kind of reiterates what I was just saying. We respond to the comments, making a determination if any further changes should happen to the Shoreline Master Program. The city will submit those comment responses and any potential changes that they'd like to make to ecology for our official determination. Ecology sends that determination back to the city. City goes through its formal local adoption process, and then they submit that formally adopted, locally adopted shoreline master program to us, to the Department of Ecology, and we approve those amendments. We call them amendments, but they're just small changes to the SMP. And once that's done, it's 14 days after just come into effect, and we all go on about our business. Go ahead. Let's see. Right, and so our conclusion will be that the proposed amendment satisfies the criteria in 173.26.201. That's the subsection of the rule that discusses these periodic reviews. We make sure that it doesn't foster uncoordinated piecemeal development. That's sort of an overarching goal of the SMP, and that it doesn't result in net loss shoreline ecological functions as a result of the amended shoreline master program. Those are both kind of threshold standards that existed for the comprehensive updates that happened earlier, and they just kind of further amendments or updates that happen in the future. I'll go ahead. So my partner in crime here is Lauren Bromley. She's sort of a little bit more hands-on on this particular master program. We have 9 currently going in addition to the cities. No, well, we have 8 in addition to the city of Spokane. We will have something like 44 starting next year. So we're all sort of cutting our teeth on this. This will be the first time we've gone through a periodic review in Eastern Washington, and I'm really glad to have Melissa and her team as our partner in this, as we're all kind of learning. It's been, I think, a pretty smooth process so far. So happy to answer any questions you guys have now, or any time in the future too. You can get a hold of Lauren or myself.
Thank you. I actually, this is Todd. I have a quick question. I don't know that I fully have ever understood the dance between the shoreline master, this and the comprehensive plan, the GMA, right? Mm-hmm. And is this intentionally off cycle so that this is the shake hands between the state and the city, in order then when in a few years on a periodic update of the comprehensive plan, that's our opportunity to update the goals, but we don't need the state's input at that point?
I think that is part of it. You know, there's one of the biggest differences between the SMA and the GMA is that under the SMA, there's validity. So the SMP does have to be formally approved and accepted by the Department of Ecology, looking at the standards. So I think the idea is that the offsetting these 2 cycles is intended to just give some breathing room for the workload. You know, I can't really speak to the other part of your question, because that's, you know, that's something that I think sort of evolves as the process goes forward. But I think the intention there is that these are sometimes complicated and difficult and controversial, and we want to give folks breathing room between.
I have a question, Todd.
Yeah, please.
Hi, Jeremy. This is Joanne Wright. Do you remember me?
Yeah. Hi, Joanne. How are you?
Fine. I'm on the Plan Commission now.
Oh, fantastic.
So, and for those of the Plan Commission members that don't know, I headed up the last Shoreline Master Program update, and it was a massive update. And Jeremy did work with URS, and they did the entire shoreline inventory and analysis. So he had a big part in that.
And I'm the new Doug Pinio.
Yes. Pinio, yeah, from the Department of Ecology at the time. So anyway, I think it was I can remember this whole conversation about trying to get these two coordinated and make the Shoreline Master Program due date, the same as the comprehensive plan, clear back then. And so apparently it hasn't gone anywhere. And maybe there is a specific reason for that. Maybe it's better to keep it off. But I know they were looking into that, and it only made sense to me at the time to try and do that. I know Doug Pinio had big conversations about that. So I think ecology actually looked into that, but obviously didn't go anywhere. So
Joanne, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but so in the last periodic update of the plan, chapter 14, I don't recall, were there any updates there, or did you roll into the work that you had done in 2000? I can't remember, on the SMP.
no, I mean, the major one was back in 2007, 2007 when it was adopted, is that right?
Would have been something like that.
Yeah.
I think we finished up completely with regulations, and Tyrrell took over from the policy piece of that. I think we finished up in 2011, and then with the comp plan update, chapter 14 shorelines was incorporated as well. But Tyrrell, you might have a little bit more history on.
Yeah, there weren't. We didn't have a chapter 14 until the big overhaul from 2007, 2009 or 10. And then the regulation part followed. So and just another little bit, the critical areas ordinances that the city of Spokane has do live under GMA. So yeah, that's where sometimes there's some confusion and tension, and the courts have made some decisions about that as well. But for people really getting into the weeds, so the shoreline regulations are under the SMA is their parent.
And if you really want to get into the weeds, that's what this page is up for from Department of Ecology. You can go to Department of Ecology to the Shoreline Planners Toolbox, but there's a whole bunch of information if you are really wanting to know how that all works with critical areas. It's there's a whole lot of interesting overlap with GMA and then not overlap, as Jeremy pointed out.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Thanks for mentioning the website. I neglected that, but there really is a lot more information than I could possibly cover on there.
Well, and Melissa, I of course zeroed in on all of your information that you sent out. I mean, to me, this is very interesting because I worked on it. So, but it looks to me like all of this is just making sure that everything's consistent with the comprehensive plan and growth management, and there's no major changes at all. Is that correct?
That's correct. And this is very much informational. I know, Joanne, you're really familiar with it, and so are probably a few other members of the Plan Commission. But I'll go into what the city is doing specifically. It is a narrowly focused project to come into compliance with any changes that have occurred at the state level. And then we have the option of a few local initiatives, or adding in a few, and the city of Spokane did. I'll just go over that briefly because Jeremy touched on a lot of the broad picture of what this periodic review actually is, what the definition is. Jeremy, do you have anything else? And he'll be here for questions. We wanted to make sure you had the expert in the room. I don't hear anything from Jeremy. So I'm going to go ahead so we don't have too much of a gap. I know you're tight on time. So, and I'm not going to read to you, but basically this is what we're doing. As Jeremy already pointed out, we did get a grant from the Department of Ecology for $33,600 for the 2019-2021 biennium, that is controlling our deadline to finish up this process completely through our local approval and adoption process, and also the ecology validation of that and approval. For those of you who may not be familiar, this is the shoreline jurisdiction in the city of Spokane, the Spokane River here, and Latah Creek to the south, basically, of us in the city where we're sitting at. This is where our shoreline master program lives. our Shoreline Master Program locally, it is derived from the Shoreline Management Act. It is controlled to a large extent. There are some things in Shoreline Management Act that do not apply to the city of Spokane. For instance, we don't have an ocean next to us. So our regulations live in 17E 060 of the Spokane Municipal Code, and Chapter 14 is the guiding policy that is compliant with Shoreline Master or Shoreline Management Act, as well as being compliant with GMA. So as I mentioned before, it is a very limited scope. Joanne is correct. We are not, and Jeremy mentioned this as well, we're not completely updating our SMP. This is addressing the changes that are required in the Act. And that's just since the last comprehensive update, as we already spoke to, from 2007 to 2011. And we are not making any changes to the comprehensive plan, nor are we revisiting the baseline ecological information. Thankfully, Washington Department of Ecology maintained a checklist that said, here's what's happened since 2019 back to, I think, 2007, 2008. And that's what we use. That's what's in your packet to see, okay, what has changed? Are we compliant? If we're not compliant, what do we need to do to change our code? If we are compliant, can we make a finding of adequacy, which, as you could see in your packet, we are compliant in many areas, but we have some that we do need to amend. This is what it looks like, that periodic review checklist. The draft that we produced in, completed in November of 2020 is in your packet. It's on our project webpage as well. And if you have any questions, and I see that there's quite a few people that are interested parties and partner agencies on the call today or on the WebEx today. This is what it looks like. The draft amendments that we discovered that we needed to, this is just an excerpt. This is what we need to do to come into compliance in our own Spokane Municipal Code. And internally, staff has also reviewed this. So where we are at, as Jeremy mentioned, and I mentioned earlier, we are in a joint public comment period. We are, and I have been in contact with our local jurisdictions neighboring. We are kind of out ahead of everybody else, and we are conducting this jointly so that we could have a little bit quicker process getting to our June 2021 finish date. So we're still reaching out to our stakeholders and our community outreach, but making it very clear, again, this is a very narrowly focused just to make sure that we're in compliance with the state. And if we have anything that needs to be corrected here locally that we're taking the initiative to do, those also have to be reviewed by ecology. So this was a good time for us to go through this process with some just what we thought we needed to do. The joint public comment period will run through February 5th. As I mentioned earlier, we have completed the SEPA comment period. If we do get comment in that's going to substantially change some of the draft amendments that we have, we will amend that SEPA comment period and go back out. Shorelines in Spokane, like every other jurisdictions, are extremely important to our citizens. So as Jeremy mentioned, this is kind of what the process is for the local public comment period. We get the city gets the comments and documents them. We respond to the comments within 30 days of the close of the comment period. I will say I've gotten very few comments to this point. Some of the tribes in our neighboring partner agencies have just asked that we make sure that we are in compliance with their own review processes, which we are. Then we provide our comment and response record to ecology along with our draft proposed amendments, any revisions, our periodic checklist, SEPA documents, the agenda packet and minutes from today will be part of that record. Then ecology has 30 days at a minimum for agency review and initial determination of consistency. And that's kind of important because this next bullet point where we anticipate a hearing on February 24th, 2021, at any time, like I said, I'm getting a little bit messed up on the dates because we were supposed to do this last week. In the next 30 days, once we provide them comments that we get from the close of the public comment period on February 5th, the ecology can come back and say, hey, we want you to consider this. We're fully aware of that, and we're building that into the timeline. So if we need to come back and have additional joint public comment period, we've already planned that in and built that in, not only for Plan Commission, but for City Council. If we have a recommendation from Plan Commission today to move forward to a hearing on February 24th, that's the process that we will follow. As I said, though, we're always going to check back and see, do we need to have additional public comment, whether it's for SEPA? Do we need to have another 30-day public comment period? In any case, we will have an additional public comment period before we get to City Council for this project. That's the end of the slideshow. Does anybody have any questions? I think we just have a few minutes. I'm not sure.
I have a question. So do you, do you anticipate coming to Plan Commission for another workshop prior to the hearing, or is the hearing the next touch point for us?
Right now, we are tentatively scheduled for February 24th for a hearing. You have a meeting on the 27th, I believe. You will not have any hearing time on the 10th of February. I think that's already full. If we need to have another workshop on the 24th instead of having a hearing, that's the purpose of this workshop today is, do you feel like you've got enough information about this project, the materials in your packet, to go to a hearing on the 24th, which also, I mean, if we do go to a hearing on the 24th, if that's your recommendation, it can always be continued. That's the question that I'm asking today is that something that you are looking to be able to do, if your comfort level is there, or do we need to have another workshop? And please remember, as I said, the city does not have a lot of choice here in the amendments that we're proposing. It's all to come into compliance with state legislated changes.
I know I personally didn't see anything that really stood out to me going through it. I mean, obviously a lot of changes that you incorporated to accommodate state law changes and stuff, but I don't have a problem with it going to hearing. I mean, it'd be interesting to hear from Joanne, simply from her experience of doing this, going through your side of the process previously, so, or anyone else.
I would have no problem with it going to hearing either, because I mean, it is all state mandated changes, and you just getting into compliance with all of those. And so really there's no discretion really. So I don't know what there would be to discuss and what those changes are. So I think it's fine to go to hearing.
Any other commissioners? I'm curious, did anyone else from staff have concerns? I'm not quite sure if, do you feel we wouldn't be ready?
And if that question's to me, I know that Tyrell and Lewis are still in the room, and there are other staff members as well. No, I feel like we've been working on this since probably late 2019. We've met the checklist requirements and vetted internally what locally initiated changes are, and those mainly have to do with design review being in 17E that's covered in other sections of the code. So again, it's not, it's mainly a compliance factor, and then just acknowledging that we are double covering some of our own local code sections.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, unless any other commissioners have any input, I say we defer to Lewis and staff then on our agenda management when you think it's appropriate.
I see a comment from Lauren Bromley with Ecology She's just reiterating, and thank you, Lauren, for stepping in. Yes, you and Jeremy have been really great partners in this process. She says the items that we are working on should already be implemented in permitting and compliance. We are just updating our own Spokane Municipal Code.
Thank you for that. I have one question out of curiosity. Is the county on the same schedule? Did they have to go through this process also?
They do have to go through the process. They are behind some of the jurisdictions around us. We elected in the city of Spokane to go internal with our periodic review. Spokane County is looking for a consultant. I think they have RFP out. City of Spokane Valley has a consultant on board. And Medical Lake as well, I believe.
Yeah, it's everyone in Spokane County, and all of the jurisdictions within Spokane County are on the same timeline.
And that might include tribes and so forth?
Well, the tribes don't have to adopt the shoreline.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you.
Yeah. No, but we have to make sure that we're good partners.
Yeah. Okay. And none of this, well, no, I was going to ask about the UGA, in a couple of years, but if everybody's on the same schedule, then this all gets pushed through this year. So, okay.
And we can always initiate locally. It's just it would be a different process than if we run across something major like that.
Okay.
Yes, this is what Jeremy and Melissa were talking about. We partner, but we actually cannot change our regulations unless ecology also approves. So we'll be combining the city council hearing will also be ecology's hearing. So we do have some noticing lead that we're making sure we're accommodating.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you, Melissa and Ecology. Nice to have you here.
Sure, my pleasure.
Thank you very much. If you feel like you're comfortable getting ready to go to hearing, then I will commandeer Jeremy and Lauren's schedules to make it happen.
I don't think we hear any objections, so thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, good. Okay, good. And I'm going back to our second agenda item, then back to the work plan. If this can be pretty open, and please, let's make it very horizontal. I have many things I'd like to add as an individual commissioner, not as any proposal for top down setting an agenda. So let's but I think just put out there a couple of areas I really like to talk about, and then we can get in the weeds as desired. I agree with what Louis presented, that the missing middle is the most timely and key thing that we need to talk about from on many fronts, right? Just out of urgency, but also because of timing with the Housing Action Plan and the Sustainability Committee. And then I'd like to go in a little bit on some of the things that are going on at the state legislature level in committee right now. Not all that are going to pass, but why I also think it's very important to talk about housing, and and a couple points related to comp plan amendments. We went through a series of 5 or 6 external comp plan amendments last year, and the pattern that I think we all realized was upzoning proposals from single family to something. And we pretty much ran all our LUs, 1.3, 4, 5, and so I'm just going off the top of my head. I think we had 1.8 in there somewhere, right? So basically what we're saying is that there were proposals for multiple reasons to go from single family to something, to office, to commercial, to multifamily. And so, so in there's also the question of, why. A lot of different conditions. Sometimes around center and corridor, sometimes at the fringe, sometimes based on use, right? And down on 10th Avenue. So, so there's a question of is there something we should be looking at in terms of single family that's embedded within our comp plan? And I know what I'm saying is it's a heavy lift that normally would be dealt with at a periodic update. But are there other external factors that might ask us to discuss this deeper? I think there are, and I know many. I'll give what I think is fact. Some might interpret as opinion, but I think we need to. Well, I think the term single family and even some of the terms in our comp plan, like neighborhood character and some of the overlays we're doing, I think they are exclusionary practices, and or at least I think we need to have a community discussion about that. And I think, in the state of Washington, we obviously put most of the authority at the jurisdiction level. We don't have the Oregon mechanisms where there's a heavy hand, a top-down hand from the state to be able to come in and tell the jurisdictions what to do. But at the other side, there are, for those of you that follow legislature, there are bills going through committees right now. One in energy and environment, maybe I have that backwards, environment and energy in the House side. And then the second one is in local government. And both of them are proposals to make modifications to the GMA. One of them is to add climate change, which I think personally is critical and has to, the GMA and the comp plans do need to catch up with other state legislation. I serve energy. We are on a very aggressive, we have very aggressive targets at the state level to get to certain energy performance by 2030. And one of the latest proposals, additional bills, is to change that to 2027 instead of 2030. So we'll be even more aggressive. I'll come back to that. But I just wanted to put that out there that it's all related, and with the missing middle, those are the key pieces right now, that the cottages, the duplex, triplexes, townhomes, row houses, that's very common knowledge that those are the lowest cost, low hanging fruit to be able to increase density and actually hit, realistic rental rates, sale prices, things like that. And those typologies are also critical from an energy standpoint to start to address this. So there's a lot there. So I'm going to back up and then just open it up for any comments, and then love to get deeper on any one of those topics.
Todd, I'd like to bring something up that I think we're going to need to address here relatively soon, at least within the next year or two. And that's the vacancy at Northtown of the upcoming Macy's building and the already empty Sears building. Those both have potential, if we can figure out how to do it, to provide a lot of middle income and lower income housing. There are other places in the country that have taken over those malls and provided a great deal of housing. And I think that's something that we want to look into.
Michael, I think it's a great point also. And I would put that in a category of redevelopment. And I'm seeing that this happens to be one of the areas that I work professionally in. We're seeing that, especially on the West Side, firms and developers that are specifically targeting now that conversion from what was pure retail to hopefully mixed use, right?
Yeah. And I think we could be facing a third big box store up there, and the JCPenney operation is tenuous at best.
I'll add one more opinion on there. Again, and we brought it up when we invited SRTC in, and they were giving us an update on division. And I was perhaps a little critical because it was all focused on design of the right of way and gave no attention to actual planning around what if division is has these improvements. So.
Well, I'm going to support what you said Todd, with regards to missing middle, I think housing is a critical issue for us. I think it's going to continue to be. I think if we neglect to do it, all it's going to do is push development. If it's not going to be beyond the UGA here in Spokane County, it's going to go over into Kootenai County or somewhere else, which has a tremendous environmental impact. And so I think us taking a proactive approach, which kind of ironic because I don't feel like we're being proactive even if we do it now, because I feel like we're way behind the 8 ball on this. I think it's something that we really need to push for. And I'm going to certainly argue that, the ADU code changes, I know that's on that current list that falls within the missing middle. I'm a big proponent of us moving forward on that. I'm on the SAS committee, and they've made a proposal, or they've done a presentation and put together a package that they presented to the PIES committee under city council to make some changes to the ADU code. And I would really like to see us take and use that as a starting point for updates to the code. As Michael can attest to, we were on the infill housing committee together back in 2015 and 2016, and ADUs were one of the components that came out of that. And it was something that never came to the level of taking action on it at that point, but I think it's time to do so. So it's just one more opportunity where we can start to relieve some of the housing pressures that we're having in the area.
May I ask what you exactly are proposing to look into? I mean, are you proposing a study or what? And what would you like to see happen in single family neighborhoods?
Yeah, thank you, Joanne. Well, specifically, the big lift, right? The comp plan. I think we need to look seriously at 1.3 and 1.4. Do I have that right? Single family and multifamily sections.
Yeah, I can pull it up if you'd like.
Yeah, maybe we should, just because everyone. So one, Center and corridors, absolutely. Infrastructure planning, where we want, higher density, mixed use, so forth. That is, that's embedded everywhere in our comp plan. So let's for the sake of this discussion, let's not argue with that right now. And I happen to agree. Where I think these overstep, and when I say think, I mean, it's the correlations are well understood of exclusionary practices, right, with single family. I mean, in the, my formal training in literature and just, in the bills that are being proposed in Olympia, it's very well understood that those were practices dating all the way back to redlining, and then we can go through all that history. And the Housing Action Plan is doing a great job of educating, I think, all of the community stakeholders that might not have that formal training on redlining practices and Transportation Act and so forth, right? And Kevin and others, are doing a great job in there and putting the maps together of, displacement risks and so forth. And, to no one's surprise, it overlays directly with some of those practices. Where I get concerned in single family, and we all know where this comes from NIMBYism, and I say that as with acknowledgement and respect for those opinions. But clearly this metaphorically gets weaponized because we say protect the character, we protect the character of single family residential neighborhoods by pushing everything to center and corridors. To me, those are two separate things. You can put the intensity of retail, mixed use, and higher density multifamily in those center and corridors, but still maintain, whether it's through form-based, through just some of the other mechanisms of FAR and so forth, without changing our design standards. Now, we can argue whether or not we need to change residential design standards or actually impose them, but to me, those don't need to be coupled so strongly. This is by saying that you have to only put higher density residential uses in center corridors, I think that is something to be assessed. I think we can have the 2s, 3s, 4s. Well, and I would go further and argue neighborhood retail, but let's just start with 2, 3, 4s as a common proposal within what are now single family zones.
Could I just make a comment?
Please, Sylvia, yes.
If you look at what's up on the screen, the last sentence of 1.2 is housing density should decrease as the distance from the district center increases. I think that's stupid. That's my comment. That doesn't need to be there. That's all.
So my take on all of this is that these are massive, big policy changes that, maybe, this is a huge conversation that should go on in, with the entire city and maybe in a major comprehensive plan update. Because it is, if you're talking about doing away with single family neighborhoods and the whole concept of having one house on a lot, that's a huge policy change. And, we already heard from Candace Mumm that there probably wouldn't be much support for that from the city council. So I think it's a big, big discussion that we have to have. And there'd have to be a major shift in the way people think here in the city. That's all I'm saying. And I know that it's meant to be this little discussion that the Plan Commission might initiate. It might be a bigger discussion than that. So
We have a huge problem with housing. It's across the U.S.
I agree with that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it's a big policy decision that took several hours of conversation when the comprehensive plan was developed. And so I'm talking about the process of how this should be done.
Yeah.
This
Mary, I think you started and then there you go. Now you're good.
Sorry. I also think we ought to look at centers and corridors like the one on 14th and Grand that I'm most familiar with. I think you could put any little shop there you wanted and it's not going to last. Our whole economic structure and our buying structure, and you can't have I guess you can have a coffee shop on every corner, but they don't survive. So just because we said something should be a center and corridor, and I know it's not developed, doesn't mean it's going to work. Maybe it would work 10 years ago if it had been developed, but I think we need to look at that whole notion. We have things come in, go out, and especially after the pandemic, it's going to shift our whole buying practices and where we shop. And you can't have tiny grocery stores; they can't last. So I think we need to look at all of that. And we're trying to build it on a program that's 10 years old, and things have changed.
Well, I think that kind of goes back to one of the items that we were looking at as far as work program, and that Louis showed us as far as doing some more work on planning for centers and corridors, which, 20 years ago, they decided they were going to do and just haven't gotten around to it because higher priority things keep taking the place of those. But you mentioned 14th and Grand, and it's been a huge issue for that neighborhood, all those neighborhoods up there, to have that plan for at one time. So
I live 3 blocks from it, but what I'm saying is the little shops that go in there can't last. They can't have enough business.
Well, it hasn't been planned for either. And, that's what I'm saying. Maybe there needs to be this discussion about single family neighborhoods, centers and corridors, which all goes back to this larger discussion that we would have in a comprehensive plan update. So
I agree with you. I think it's a bigger issue.
Diana, do you want to go on then, Craig?
I also, my formal training is also in planning and design, and I work in a lot of other communities. I work a lot in California, where I'm working right now on combining Wells 5-story housing. It's, I don't know if you'd call that mid-rise or what, mid-rise housing in historic buildings and in conjunction with historic neighborhoods. And I've seen ADU programs work really well in California and Seattle. I think there's a lot of alternatives, and it's a broader discussion. I agree with Joanne. I think neighborhood character is a thing, as you might imagine, and I think to equate redlining with single family zoning is an exaggeration. Not that there's overlap, but I think conflating those two is inflammatory. Actually, I think if you know housing history at all, I think it's kind of an inflammatory statement. I agree with folks that it should be a broader discussion. I think there's minor tweaks that you can make, you know, duplexing lots, or so long as you have design guidelines that make it work, you know, you plan the transportation and the transit with the housing. I did my master's degree on public housing. I started my PhD program on alternative models for public housing. It's an area that I have spent a lot of time studying, and I agree with Joanne that it's a broader discussion. You can't just say single family is exclusionary. I think that's an inflammatory statement, and I don't think it's necessary. I think that it needs to be framed in a way that doesn't start to put people at odds against each other, I guess, given the kind of traditional planning that Spokane has done over time, to my observation. So those are my main comments. I think there's a lot of alternatives. There's a lot that work. Jumping into something without a deep and broad discussion would be a mistake.
I appreciate that honesty, and I do agree that we have a deep background within this group, which I think is why we can start to have these discussions. Greg, you were going to say something.
Yeah, a couple of things. One, I think the Spokane Action Plan is going to help set us up for this to move forward. I do believe that reviewing is it 1.3 and 1.4? I think are deeper dives, and I think they're part of a broader comp plan discussion. However, my big concern is I don't think we can wait until 2026 to have that happen, or starting the process in 2024. I feel that's too late. I do think it's a very heavy lift, but I think it's a very important lift, and I think part of it is an educational piece, and I agree with you, Diana, that it shouldn't be inflammatory or framed potentially around redlining. I know that there's different schools of thought on that, but there are ways to intensify residential single-family areas that are a light intensity that don't have a strong change in character to that area. A lot of traditional residential single-family areas already have duplexes and triplexes, and I think we can move toward those things, but we can't. Our current code doesn't allow for it, and so I think those discussions should be there. And I do think it's a heavy lift, but also at the same time, I think there are steps that we can take, like ADU reform and lot size, transition lot size reform, that can be done without touching the comp plan as well. So anyway.
I agree. I wasn't proposing that we wait, until 2026, Greg. I think that there are things that can be approach now that could tweak it while we're developing the housing plan. I think there are steps we can take, and that we need to get going, and we don't need to wait for a comp plan amendment, but it does need to be done carefully and thoughtfully, and including a broader public. That's my and looking at alternatives and looking at what other communities are doing. you know, the kind of thing that I brought in when I first came, which was a single family neighborhood in a historic area. It wasn't a historic district, it was just a historic area where they took lots that had been, that were otherwise occupied by kind of, you know, mid-sized craftsman bungalows, usually that kind of development, and made it into a triplex that absolutely filled the lot so that there was no open space whatsoever on that lot, and it was a big square box. I mean, that's an example in my mind of things being done badly. So that's what I mean about considering the character carefully and looking at the array of choices that we have now, and like what I saw in Tacoma when I worked on a project there, I brought this up in the past too, is that the city council in that point in time wanted to make, you know, all things equally available to everybody. Well, I'm in favor of preserving housing choice.
You know,
So if you look at page 2 of your packet of that item, it doesn't, we could attack this through multiple threads. You know, we're starting to eat an elephant here, and I think there are some more near-term things that we could address, and we can also start chewing on a bigger community discussion that may take more time. So we've listed a few examples of the kind of things that might come up in another round of kind of infill housing on the top of that page. And then there are things that may start tripping into requiring a comp plan amendment. Like I said, there's no reason we can't have 2 threads going, one tackling more minor issues of ADU reform, and then another starting this bigger conversation about comp plan amendment on the protecting exclusively single family. So.
Yeah, you know, I'll add that it's also timely because I do feel we are going through significant stakeholder engagement right now. The Housing Action Plan, those meetings are outstanding. They focus on equity and the economics of it. You know, well, good representation across the board. You know, these are where the, you know, and everyone's showing up, right? And I'm really encouraged by that. Likewise, the Sustainable Action Committee is working through, and they're the ones that are actually pushing the ADU reform. And I think, Louis, you made a really good comment to the council last week or 2 weeks ago or whenever it was, you know, that, you know, there's some things we already have, you know, with pocket residential, cottage. If you had ADU reform, you know, just putting those together so they're, and educating on those is a big step forward. I'd encourage you to look at 2 things. So, I mean, the question is what if, you know, what if, I don't know that this bill has a chance of getting out of committee, but, you know, look at House Bill 1220, and that's the one that is focused on firmly requiring plans for, you know, low, very low emergency housing, right? And going in and stating very clearly the zoning may have a discriminatory effect. And here's what's, you know, there's an expectation that cities now take this head on. The second part is we are, you know, those of you who are familiar with, you know, the GMA and with efforts at Commerce, and these documents are all going through the Housing Action Plan, you know, we're not what's called we are fully planning county and city, but we're not what's called a buildable lands county, where you have to formally document these strategies of how you're going to increase density and so forth. But, you know, just because we're not a county or a city that is required to do that doesn't mean we shouldn't be having those same discussions and building off of those precedents. And then the third piece is the other day, Sacramento City Council updated what they call their 2040 plan. And I read this in California as this is like our comp plan, right? An update every 5 years or so they do this, I assume. Or it just might be a long-term planning document, but they went through stakeholder engagement and so forth. And if you're following that, they made a pretty significant, you know, proposal in that long-term document to eliminate the single-family zoning. Well, I'll be careful on this. What they did is they shift from density to FAR, and you know, to an FAR of 1, I think is the recommendation, right, across the city. Which if you think about what we do, we have a certain density, and then we have an additional FAR of correct me if I'm wrong, staff, 0.5, right? And give a bonus on the cottage housing, I think of 15% or something like that. I think that's also in the ADU reform, right? A bonus of 10% or 20% or something like that if you're to go in there. So there are other ways to talk about this and think about this while you're and then including form-based code and design guideline development, design, you know, and perhaps design review. I'm not advocating for that, but there are other ways that you engage in a positive way with those that are concerned about neighborhood character and massing and so forth, right? Yet approach this in an equitable way so we can actually move forward and develop housing. Anyone from the staff or anyone else from the commission? Joanne, yeah, please.
Well, I think it's fine to look at other cities and whatnot, but I would caution against saying we should do that same thing. I mean, we're not Sacramento, we're not Seattle, we're not Portland, we are Spokane. And I think we need to do what makes sense for us. You know, I agree with everything Diana said. It's there's a long history of zoning, and single family zoning has been allowed for ever since the early 1900s. So, you know, I think it can't be inflammatory if you start looking at this. And I think, like Lewis said, bite this off in small little bites and go from there, because most people that buy in a single family neighborhood here in Spokane have invested a lot of money, and they have the expectation that it's going to stay single family. And so I think you might have, you know, a big backlash if you did something all of a sudden, or if you didn't take your time doing this and you weren't very careful about it. And you don't want to be inflammatory about it either. So I'm just, you know, I would kind of go along with what Lewis had to say. And when you do a comprehensive plan update, you do look at the total density and the total jobs and total housing and the land that you have available and whatnot. So if you start this huge conversation about just single family, then that spills over into what multifamilies left, you know, what, you know, there's discussion now about it's industrial land. And so how much is available for all of that, and where is it all going to go? And that would make more sense, you know, and what about centers and corridors than doing something massive now. So I would think that, yeah, this ADU is maybe the best thing to take a look at initially, and what you're working on right now. That's all I've got.
Tom, are you raising your hand? Maybe not. I have a couple of questions for, please, if anyone from staff is willing, I know what I'm asking because none of us get paid. So we're maybe a little more open to giving our opinion on these. But I'm curious, you know, Kevin, for example, and some of the mapping that you're in the team are doing, Terrell, on the housing action plan. Are you doing any of the economic, you know, the AMI, you know, type analysis? You do that displacement, and it's excellent work. Are we also putting the layers now of what is achievable rent and so forth, so that we can then start to tie that back like Paula did in Seattle to housing types and so forth, which also allows us to get into those buildable land strategies of where can we achieve this density, of course, with the density without displacement, you know, strategies. But you know what I'm asking there, Kevin?
I think you might be going a little deeper than we're doing in the housing action plan. But, and you are correct, we are not a buildable lands community. So we do have a little different process that we are mandated to follow through our countywide planning policies.
Right.
Yeah, this is Kevin Todd. I just don't have much to add. I'm not that deep into all of the different projects that are being done for the housing action plan. So I couldn't tell you off the top of my head exactly what economic factors we might be able to map or bring out in that. Sorry.
No, that was just an open question. And when we think about, you know, getting support from Commerce and others, you know, there's, you know, really strong representation, obviously, from, you know, from the home builders and so forth. But of course, their models are not always aligned with Well, we're talking about missing middle typologies on infill lots and so forth, right? So.
Just to go back to something that Mary said a little bit previously around 14th and Grand and these small neighborhood centers, areas like that are never going to be successful at the level of density that we're at unless they become a boutique area to go to, kind of like Perry District. They're just not going to succeed because they need that walkable area for people to come to. And I think that's one of the challenges that we look at with neighborhood retail or smaller density retail, that people gravitate towards centers because that's where everything is. How can a small corner store survive when there's a larger grocery store up the street that has everything? Small coffee shops and small restaurants, they're either going to draw people in, which annoys people because then it creates a parking problem, or they just don't have there's just not the intensity of people around it to keep it active. And I think that's one of the things that we need to consider as we look at that for the future.
This is Mary again. The other issue, and I brought it up at one of the groups within the Housing Action Plan, but I don't know if we're ever going to be able to catch up when the people who are buying the homes right now that come in are coming in from other areas because they can telecommute. They have a lot more money and make more money than our economic structure allows. So we, at this point, are competing with people coming in from other areas. So you can build whatever you want. And unless our economy starts to compete with the outside economies, we are going to continue to be in a problem. Otherwise, during a pandemic, our housing prices wouldn't keep soaring. But
I'd like to make a comment if I could here. Mary's exactly right. We have had a tremendous number of folks move here from both Portland, Seattle, and from the LA basin. They're coming in with cash. They're making cash offers. I've had several offers of my own that have been negated by cash offers. And there's nothing we can do about it.
so our housing costs are going to continue to go up. And the people here who actually have lived here for a long time are going to have a harder and harder time no matter what infill you do. We have a problem with our base economy.
I don't know if you folks have seen the chat that Darren Watkins put on. He is the government affairs director for the Realtor Association here locally. And we are working on a project that we'll have done in the month of February, our own housing project and our own housing data and needs. And we'll present that to you guys sometime in early March.
Hey, Michael or Darren, I don't understand the comment. I disagree more with about infill. Specifically, what is that referencing?
Well,
the
I
workshop.
think,
So, I mean, Darren, if you just want to weigh in, this is not a hearing.
Darren, can you hear us?
Is
Well,
he still
we can hear
on?
feedback.
Yeah, he's still on.
Yeah. Okay, well, we can come back. Well, okay, obviously, we're not going to solve this today. This is an open discussion. We can follow up again next week. The idea is that as we go into a meeting, though, with council, and I see Councilmember Cathcart on here, it's not that there's going to be consensus on any of this, and I would hope there's not. But as we come in, that we can frame all of this, with the important work that's being done by the Housing Action Committee, the private work that's being done, the sustainability piece, the contact in Olympia right now. We if we're talking about a work plan and what we can contribute as commissioners, I think that's really what I was hoping to discuss today.
I think the one thing that's coming out of this is that there's hopefully that there needs to be some specific focus on increasing our housing capacity within the city limits, regardless of the type of housing. It's a discussion that needs to occur, and I just see that as a critical issue that we really need to focus on. And so that's what I'm hoping to get out of this conversation as we take it forward to City Council next week. I know, I'm going to harp on my ADU reform. I really want to get that on the work plan. I'd love to see other middle housing reform being done, because I think we can do some later intensity improvements and I know that's a heavier lift, but I think that's something that we need to work on, and we need to work on it sooner, even though it requires a very large public process.
Well, there's another reason why I would like to focus on the kinds of things that Greg brings up, some of our abilities to increase density through small measures and small means and until we have an opportunity to do a little bit more. And that's I'm not in real estate, and I've never worked as a developer. I've worked with development for 40 years in various capacities, and that is my observation, is that new housing and infill housing is not market rate housing. And you guys that are it's not addressing the need for affordable housing. And if you just look back at the present, at current models like what we did in World War II to maximize the opportunities, not that had terrific results in the long run in terms of the neighborhood quality sometimes, but at different times when there was a great need, what was done to increase housing opportunity, and what we're doing now, or what communities are doing now with the ADU. It's just that it seems to me like that, and preserving neighborhoods that are have the kind of traditionally working class and middle class housing, like Nettleton's Addition is a good example. It has more opportunity to create affordable housing than does an opportunity for a lot of high density infill development, which in my observations always hits not the kind of market that we're trying to expand if we're trying to create more opportunity.
Then I missed the first part. What creates more opportunity?
My observations as a person that's not in real estate and not a developer per se, is that some of the actions that have been taken in the past historically and today with the kind of things like ADU and making duplex and townhouse types of possibilities tends to preserve more affordable housing. And like some of the neighborhoods around here where you've got relatively small single family and dense, more dense, smaller lots, tends to preserve more affordability than allowing for denser new development in rezoning, upzoning per se. And that's a blanket statement. I apologize for that, but there are multiple ways to create housing density, and some of them are more geared towards people who are going to try to maximize profit.
I think the issue is right now, if you're going to upzone residential single family, you're going to upzone it to typically RMF or to some others, potentially a commercial use. And so you have a rapid change or a very extreme change within density in one fell swoop, whereas this is where I think that if we can intensify what residential single family provides, and there's lots of things that can do that, then you can gain a higher level of density without dramatically changing the character of that area.
I agree.
Whereas if you upzone it to RMF, then all of a sudden you are building mid-rise apartment complexes that are obviously out of character with that area.
And it's a dramatic change, or it can be a dramatic change.
Yeah, I would add, and as we go into this discussion with council, and I'm glad, Darren and others are on, the new build, the home builders associations, their model exists, and they, that is out, they're well represented. And honestly, in our area, there is room for that. Now, I don't always politically agree with some of the legislative, but I don't fault them for that model that works for them. And what I mean by that is I do a lot of work in energy codes and so forth, and those sometimes butt heads, but 90% of things we do agree on building. And what I think is interesting about, with the city of Spokane, we don't have a lot of room within the boundaries of the city to do these larger developments, right? There's some, but those will be dealt with, on a case by case basis. Spokane Valley, Liberty Lake, obviously the county is very motivated to continue building on the fringe, but what I think we can contribute is, like the buildable land counties, is to help understand on this densification piece, because really that's what we have left. We are really underbuilt per area in our city. We can discuss and debate that, but I think we can also put numbers on it and show that our city is already pretty spread out, and we have a lot of opportunity within the city in these different housing types. So I think that focus does bring us back to missing middle, some mixed use, and I do agree, Michael, with your comment that there's a lot of redevelopment opportunity on mixed use, but we're also not, in our center of the corridors, we can't just assume that these big projects, these high risk projects, are going to happen and that's going to be a near term solution. Those are slow moving animals, right? Especially in times of uncertainty, right?
Can I go back to the agenda of what we included in the packet? Maybe that could help focus on. Go back to the second page. Yeah, I'll go back to that. Let's see here. So if we were to create a package of another round of infill type items, these aren't things that would necessarily trigger any change to the comp plan. Could it be looking at one thing that's come up several times is the transition lot size provision. We've got kind of a hard rule in there now, a standard, and we could come up with maybe some performance criteria that achieve the same thing, but allow you to not have to apply kind of a hard standard to it. We could allow for more single family townhomes to be attached in the single family zone. Right now, we only allow 2. We could expand that. They couldn't exceed the density that's the comp plan requires, but they could do some townhomes on part of the site and maybe do a couple cottages on the rest and still fall within the density. We could expand the use of a new zone that was created, the RSFC zone. Well, this is getting into the weeds a little bit, but I'm just trying to provide you some examples of what another round of, smaller bites of the elephant would look like. The ADU changes, changing the size of the unit, eliminating parking requirements. Some of those that came out of the Sustainable Action Committee discussion, allowing the more duplexes within the single family, which is allowed by the policy, or modifying some of our new tools that have only been in place a couple of years, such as our pocket residential code. So those are examples of kind of nibbling at it that could open up additional housing opportunity throughout the city. You get into bigger missing middle items, such as that single family housing review.
Real quick question, Lewis.
Go ahead.
While I think all those have potential. I wonder what the capacity on the part of the planning department is. If we said, hey, all these are worthwhile to consider. I mean, what is your department's capacity to actually review, a number of different things like this?
If it's a priority, we will make capacity to fit, especially as we get through the housing action plan, which has to be done. We could get these underway, and then we would have additional capacity once the housing action plan is adopted. Take the staff that's currently working on that and start applying more pressure on these items.
Okay.
Some of these don't have to be that complex. If it's just, we would have to build a public participation process, making sure everybody's well aware of what's coming forward and making sure they have an opportunity to be heard.
I definitely want to see the transition lot size. Well, because just hearing from Jim Frank about the Garden District and how he had to upsize some lots on the edge of the district or the edge of the PUD that he's developing, which pushed up the price.
Because of transition requirements?
Because of the transition requirements, because it's relatively large lots to the south of that area. And, he wanted to build smaller homes there, a little bit more affordable. I mean, they were still not inexpensive, but they were, I think it added about $100,000 to what he was estimating the price would change, because he was forced onto larger lots. And if he goes, I'm going to build a larger lot, I'm going to build a larger house on top of it because I'm going to maximize the value of that land. So getting smaller lots would be great.
And a mix of housing types. That may be some potential there for us to provide it, even within the current single family zone category. Maybe a little density bonus if some of the units are smaller or they are attached, where you start to get some of those cost savings potentially.
A density or FAR bonus, I think looking at those two individually or separately would be really valuable to understand what that looks like and again, without making major changes or any changes to design guidelines on setbacks and so forth, right? Those always come with those individual product types, like those go through process with pocket residential. It would do the same on ADU and so forth, I'm sure. But those are all little tools that, as long as they're framed correctly, could be near-term solutions.
We can be bringing back some of these ideas in further detail for you too, to start chewing on, and council to chew on also.
Yeah, I think what would be helpful without too much work is, this is complex. We've been talking now for an hour, and maybe, we should call it, but, just explaining pocket residential to someone could be a two process, right? Reminding people what was done a couple of years ago. So framing them all together, and maybe that's part of what's happening with the housing action plan already. But then also, I really would like to request, some of this AMI work along with the displacement and a lot of that census based, but just what are achievable rents so that developers and those of us that are in the world of construction costs, and what many of you heard me say in these housing action plans, it's the real cost of energy and so forth, which often gets left out if you only focus on first cost. That's how you get to affordability. Those are things that come with new construction, because while we can say we can continue to depreciate single family by not changing anything and hoping that people will make, upgrades and changes to it, we're not changing the energy footprint or energy, profile at all. And that's something that we're not going to achieve our state mandated, goals without deep retrofits, which are going to be triggered if someone does a significant remodel or new construction. So anyway, that's a lot. There's a lot, but we just need a way to frame it all.
If I may? Commission President, may I?
Yes. Oh, please. Sorry.
Thank you. So just to speak honestly, I'm trying to take in all this information from my layperson's point of view, because I don't have the background that the majority of you folks do. However, what I'm thinking about as I listen to the conversation is who else benefits from some of the policies we might be looking at. And what I mean by that is who else, besides, of course, tackling the lack of housing issues, what else are we doing with some of these policies that we're looking at? And one concern that I have is for the individual homeowners and their personal security. What type of policies can we look at and implement that benefit people who are the individual homeowners rather than the folks who can come in and develop on the land? What about the folks who already have the land? How do we build economic security with some of the citizens that we already have here and help them develop the land that they already have their little home on? Well, that's what I'm thinking about. So are there any policies that we can implement thinking of helping people build their personal wealth? Does that make sense? I don't know if that's appropriate to bring up right now in this context, but that's all.
Well, I'll bring up another project that I worked on, but another thing that I worked on for my master's degree was a huge redevelopment project. It took about 30 years to build out. And eventually they provided public transit and commercial that supported the residential. But what it was one redevelopment project. And so you could achieve an overall density based on the fact that it was one project. But what it did is it combined high-rise and mostly garden apartments. And it took in a lot of considerations, including the climate and the topography and design features and a variety of open spaces. And one of the reasons they could achieve open spaces is because the parking was on the perimeter. But the thing that I wanted to bring up again, and this is building off a little bit of what Tom was saying, is that it had a social planning component. So it the high-rise portion of it was mostly aimed at seniors, and the garden apartments and the variety of open spaces were young families. And so that had a social component, and there were a lot of other minor design features that supported the livability of this place. But that it had a social component as well. And so I'm building a little bit off what Tom said. It's like, well, what's in it for the people that are living there? Energy considerations and cost considerations aside, we need to consider also the social components of the housing types that we are planning for.
I'd like to add one more thing too, is the consideration of design standards. I think Spokane does a real good job of that, but going back to some of the higher density places over on the coast, you're kind of been talking about higher density and allowing that. Well, they do a real good job over there of landscaping, for instance, around some of their higher density units. And I mean, some of them are beautiful, and they really take care. If they're going to put higher density housing next to single family housing, for instance, I mean, they really take good care about how that's going to look, because that's the one thing that people are a little bit afraid of when you're talking about higher density housing, is what it looks like and the impact that it's going to have on you. So just saying that, I think it wouldn't hurt to take a look at some of our standards, and if they can be increased. I know we've over the years taken a lot of look at that, and there's been a pushback from the community about that. But I just think if it goes hand in hand with what we're talking about.
I agree, Joanne. And again, I'll try to share that link through Jackie and Lewis from Sacramento. It's worth watching 10 minutes of it, because as they're going through what some would consider a pretty radical change by eliminating density in lieu of FAR, it was grounded in the ability to maintain design guidelines and promote high quality design. How you do that is a big discussion. And yeah, we probably always can improve in the city. And we did a lot of work collectively, you know, a few years ago on the multifamily, but that doesn't propagate down into the missing middle piece necessarily. You know, we worked on 3-story essentially in the multifamily and high density zones. But anyway, that was a critical argument that's the safeguard there at the project level.
So I stalled you, Lewis. Were you going to go through the rest of the list? You keep on going. It's stuck on housing because it's an important topic.
Gotcha. Let me reshare here. We get into center environments and transition areas. We've had neighborhoods and council members discuss allowing more density around the centers, maybe in a more citywide holistic format. Center transition areas. We as staff have come up with ideas like in district centers, allowing a bit more building height to allow that, like the 5/1 form of building type being allowed more of that. Right now, you're limited to 55 feet in a district center and it has a height transition. We might allow that going to 70 feet to where you could get a 6-story building. We've had a few of those constructed in Spokane or being constructed now. We could do more work around the mini centers also. Those are some of those light mixed use retail areas today. We've had Northeast PDA, and we've also had some discussion around the area north of the Sprague Revitalized Center about allowing more housing close into those centers where they get immediately into industrial. This is a big discussion. Do you start taking and converting some of your industrial to residential, or do you really do a deep study and maybe protect some of the industrial areas because they will get pushed out over time? These are some of the discussion topics that would get pulled in where we would need a comprehensive plan amendment. So these would likely be a little longer process than a 1-year process to see if we get community buy-in to either fundamentally changing single family as an example, or doing that in select areas. And then these were the other 2 items, short-term rentals. There's been concern that when we are allowing these other housing types, people are just coming in and constructing them for short-term rental rather than actual housing. And then I put sign code in here, but please don't read that. I don't want to touch the sign code. So
that's what we've had on the list so far. Lewis. You want billboards all over. If we can put housing behind the billboards, how about that?
Yeah, I'll stay quiet. Any discussion on these points?
Well, I wonder, with the one down below, the housing related comprehensive plan amendments, with that coming out of the Spokane Housing Action Plan, once we get completed with the action plan, then that's going to inform us on what sort of implementation we want to do, right? I mean, that's kind of the intent of the action plan.
Very much so.
Maybe that would then lead into some of these deeper dive things where we're reviewing basically what we're doing in the comp plan and how we're achieving what we need to achieve within the action plan. Correct?
That's the intent of the housing action plan, is to lay out paths forward on other subjects that we need to, both that could be short-term subjects and that could be longer-term subjects that we need to tackle.
I do, this to me, the sooner that we can start them, if they are going to be a multi-year process, then starting them sooner rather than later, knowing that it may be 2023 before some of these things get implemented, then, because there's so much conversation involved, I'd rather get started on those items sooner rather than later.
The housing action plan, I think, is going to highlight some of these items here. Just to let the commission know, all through February, we've got about 20-30 minutes at the city council study sessions to start going through all of the action items in the plan. So that'll be an ongoing discussion with council too, the next month and a half. So I could come up with a summary of what I'm hearing today and bring that back for the next meeting.
Yeah,
to give you some talking points with council.
If everyone agrees, I think obviously we should talk about this on next Wednesday or the day before we would go into a joint meeting with the council, and knowing that also the council might just completely want to dictate what we talk about. So that's their prerogative. So
I think that would be really helpful, Louis, if you would do that.
I agree.
And at one point, I think when we went through these before, we did a prioritization and a rating sheet on an individual basis and brought those forward. Now that we've had some good conversation around these items, I'm wondering if there would be some value in doing that again. I know it's a pretty short time frame since we have the meeting on Thursday, but I don't know. Maybe that would help people formulate what they're thinking prior to the Thursday meeting. I don't know.
Well, and as an advisory, commission, we've talked around a lot of different areas here, but it also, without creating too much work for staff, it would be valuable as you summarize to also give whatever level you're comfortable with of a, mini staff report on what was already probably happening and so forth, as you have as the best eye and all have formal training in these areas, right?
We'll see what we can pull together. I'll send out something tomorrow that you can rank just to help inform your conversation at the next meeting. And then I'll try to come up with a summary of what I'm hearing for talking points for you as you sit down with council. And I know council has a tendency to sometimes dominate these joint sessions. So any ideas on making sure we've got some balance there at the joint meeting, I think it'd be helpful.
I think just having that summary ahead of time is the most valuable, right?
Who controls the mute?
What time is that meeting on Thursday?
It's at 11 o'clock. I think we sent out let me know if you didn't get that. We sent out an invite for that through your plan commission email. Did everybody receive that?
I was just able to get into my plan commission email yesterday because of the anyway, I had a long discussion with IT and I was finally able to get into it. So I'll look and see if I got it.
Don't let that password expire.
It did. Other things happened too. It wasn't just the password.
Okay.
Yeah, next Thursday starting at 11,
Okay.
the 28th. And you should have all received an email. If you didn't, let us know. And I think we tried to send it to both your city email and your personal, just to make sure we had full coverage.
Okay. Anyone else? Any other topics?
I just wanted to add on the housing action plan, when we are at study session, those are streamed and those are Thursdays at 11. So you can get to those from watch it live on the city's webpage for other people on the commission and any other people listening.
I see Kara on here. You joined. Thank you. I don't see Marin. But that's formally on the agenda next commission meeting, right? I work off of that anyway.
Right. So we're resuming the regularly scheduled meeting, so it'll be next Wednesday of next week.
Okay. What's the So is it possible there's a quick update on progress of that since we last, had a chance to workshop it, but we also fold right into balancing some of these ideas between staff, that committee, SAS if necessary, right? I mean, I could see there's a possibility there that we have an open discussion rather than a long presentation.
Yeah, we're trying to leave a lot of time for that discussion at the next meeting.
Yeah, we left a lot of discussion time at the last study session with council. So there are several, the displacement analysis, I'm not sure everyone in the commission has had a chance to hear about that. So we'll be talking about that. We have the survey results for the most of the survey. We have the builders and developer survey still open. We've had really good push on that. So we have a good number of that. I'm not sure when that's closing, but Maren will be able to tell you about that also at the next meeting.
And I'm curious what others think. Those are all interesting and important part of the public process, but from a commission standpoint, I propose that we get more technical and specifically talk about, what this could lead to on policy and implementation, fronts rather than reviewing the public process. But what do the others think about that? So I would propose to de-emphasize the survey, get into the weeds on the displacement, the technical analysis that's going on, and then get into some of the early proposals for recommendations.
Yes, we will have, we're working towards that, and that's also what council asked for, looking at the strategies for 20 minutes at each study session in February. So maybe we can talk more and with Lewis about work that through the Plan Commission. And we're not just, I think we have time, we're trying to have workshop time if you look at your agenda management tool and the upcoming meetings. So we anticipate this would take as much time as you'll give us.
Yeah, no, and I guess I'm arguing that a lot of the presentation we've seen multiple times and is also recorded, so that could be homework. Like the last session with council, I assume it's a lot of the same information. So instead of repeating all that, anyone who's interested or hasn't seen it already, go do your homework and watch that, and then we're flipping the course like in academia. Okay. All right. Anyone else? Otherwise, thank you for opening this up. I appreciate the honesty and hope my comments come across genuine also. So, okay. Then let's adjourn. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. See you next week.
Is that Mary? Was that a bye?
She muted herself.
Mary's got the quick double hit, I think, on the.
I keep doing that. I'm sorry. I have heard nothing about being on